Good morning, and this is Ray Salazar. You are listening to the Morning Reel, or if you're on YouTube, you are watching and listening to the Morning Reel. It's a 100 minute or so podcast of films that I review from all kinds of nations, black and white, Technicolor, you name it. You request it, I review it. Now, this was not a request today, but I've been wanting to watch this movie since I've heard about it. And Ryan Gosling says that it was one of the best scripts he's ever read. And I'm like, really? This film? This film happens to be Barbie. It's a 2023 fantasy comedy. I would like to put existential film that was directed by Greta Gerwig, written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, based on Barbie by Mattel, right? It's a toy. Produced by David Heyman, Margot Robbie, Tom Mackerley, and Robbie Brenner, starring Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, America Ferrera, Kate McKinnon, Issa Rae, Rhea Perlman, and Will Ferrell. Cinematography by Rodrigo Prieto. Edited by Nick Hoey. Music by Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt. Production companies: Heyday Films, Lucky Chap Entertainment, MB/GG Film Pictures, and Mattel Films. Really. Distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures, and it had a $145 million budget, and it grossed $1.442 billion. I gotta give it up to Greta Gerwig. She's been in multiple films where I don't know, man. Like every film that she's been in, almost all of these films are about an existential crisis. If you don't believe me, just go watch Mistress America. Go watch other films of hers as an actress, and you can see that it's like she plays, I'm not saying she plays the same role, but the role that she takes on, the characters deal with, like, what am I going to do in my life? What's going on in my life? Who am I? What am I? All that stuff. And Barbie happens to be the perfect film for her to not only write and direct, but to like show the world that, like, hey, I'm not the only one who goes through these problems. And it's pretty obvious, especially in this day and age, this generation and the generation that's following to it. We get into our mid 20s or early 30s or fucking early 40s, and we are asking ourselves the question, like, who am I? What am I? And not only who am I to myself, but who am I to this world? And that was kind of like the point of Barbie that it was trying to make. Like, well, who am I? Well, you're you, and you're special, you're unique, and you're deserved, you're everything. Not a lot of people think about that, about themselves. I'm one of them sometimes, and I'll say it, I'm that upfront about it. It's a really good film. It really is a really good film. Honestly, it's one of the best films of the year. I can't say it's the best film of the year, and believe me, when I was watching this film, I was thinking about Oppenheimer and how these two films are so alike in a weird way. I mean, obviously they're different films, but they do tackle the concept of, who are we and what can we do? What can we become? And it's crazy how this film kind of plays, like it's all about Barbie land, everything's perfect, pink and pretty. And man, the production design on this film is really good, man. Like it really looks like you're in Barbie land. You're in the dream house that probably every chick wanted to physically be in, and here we are in it, and it's great. Everything is fake, there's cups with no water, no liquid in it. There's food with there's plates and bowls to mimic food. And obviously when you look at it, and I mean, for me, right, like when I see, I'm like this is totally like we're just watching a very cinematic version of a little girl playing with her Barbie toys on a Dreamhouse playset, right? And it goes much more deeper and existential than that, like it turns out that it's not a little girl who's playing these toys, it's rather a full grown adult. And obviously when you notice that in the film, especially during the second act, it's mind boggling. And because of that mind boggling, I do have just one slight problem with this film. I mean, this film is good throughout. There's comedy, there's adventure, there's a lot of moments of like self-doubt, and there's grief in it, and it's all these things that us humans kind of go through, especially like with this generation, like, I mean, yeah, the real world is particularly run by men, like, or it's very male driven rather, and for the first time, Barbie's like, you ever think about dying or whatever? And you're like, what the hell? Like, okay, cool. You reeled me in. Where are we going with this? And it turns out that this film has a like a multiverse type of thing going on. And that's the thing I didn't like about this film. Really, like, I did accept the fact that, like, okay, cool. Barbie has literally come to life. She actually came to LA or the real world, but it's, most of it's LA or it's, SoCal, right? And she basically needs to figure out, like, hey, why am I thinking about these things? How did I get so woke? And who do I have to talk to basically figure out everything? And it kind of loses me in that sense because, okay, this being comes into life, right? But that's the thing about, like, when you're playing with toys, whether you're a little boy or a little girl, you make believe, you pretend that you are this character or you're an extension of this character. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Greta Gerwig wanted to, like, extend herself to Barbie, especially with America Ferrera's character extending, her reach to her daughter by playing Barbies. And that's the crazy thing because, hey, when you're a little girl or a little boy playing with toys, sometimes you want to play with your dad or you want to play with your older or younger sibling. And in the midst of playing, like, some of these thoughts come into your head where, like, you're just literally playing them out with your toys and you're connecting with that toy, but you're also connecting with the person that you are playing with, And I'm not saying like every adult should like grab a toy and start playing with it to like basically console the existential crisis that you currently are dealing with, right? But this mom did something about it, and who would have thought that this toy would come to life, and not only come to life, but Barbie would just appear in her life, and somehow by appearing in her life, sort of dictates the state of humanity as we speak. But at the same time, the state of Barbie land, it becomes corrupt, becomes twisted, and obviously Ken, who comes with Barbie to the real world, and he says like, what the hell, like, everything's not so pink, not so colorful. It's grayish and dark, and there's a lot of men, and there's a lot of men in suits, a lot of men just like powerhousing through society, and he got a taste of it, and he's like, you know what, let's do it, let's switch it around. And primarily because Barbie would reject him, like, but it's kind of like what Ken is to Barbie. Like, there wouldn't be a Ken without Barbie, so he has to always be acknowledged by Barbie, and that's almost an existential crisis in itself. And we see Ryan Gosling's character Ken go through it, and it's good. I have no problem with that, but I do get lost where, like, I just don't see how, like, I just don't see how this plot can, like, kind of, I mean, it works, but at the same time, it doesn't work. It gets a little bit confusing, I'm pretty sure if I see it again, I would understand it a little bit more, which I kind of did, really. I mean, I didn't go as far as to see the whole thing, but it just kind of mind boggles me, it's not so clear to me, like, where is this actually going, like, how is saving Barbie land kind of like saving the world? I mean, it's saving Barbie's world, of course, but you kind of see it in the end where, like, Barbie was wrong in a way as to, like, there's got to be some type of equality, and it shows, right? And I think that's what Greta was trying to do. She's trying to show that, like, hey, like, it just kind of mind boggles me, it's not so clear to me, like, where is this actually going, like, how is saving Barbie land kind of like saving the world? I mean, it's saving Barbie's world, of course, but you kind of see it in the end where, like, Barbie was wrong in a way as to, like, there's got to be some type of equality, and it shows, right? And I think that's what Greta was trying to do. She's trying to show that, like, hey, like, even if the world was ran by women, it still wouldn't be the perfect world, really. It needs to be balanced. There has to be some balance in this world, and that sucks because In this real world, there is no balance. There's a lot of disbalance, and not even amongst men and women, but like amongst race, you know, countries that are fighting each other, and it's like they lose sight of as to like what are you really fighting about, like you're probably fighting yourselves, and like you're using an enemy to fight on, to latch onto, and to fight, but you're your own enemy, man. Will Ferrell, dude. Greta Gerwig did a great job casting Will Ferrell playing a Mattel executive. And see, that's the thing too. Like, it's just so this metaverse thing, this multiverse thing. It just it loses me. It loses me, but I kind of get it though. There's got to be something that's higher than us, higher than Barbie. Besides the real world, because Barbie Land is Barbie Land, but there's got to be something that oversees Barbie Land, and that's Will Ferrell's crew, and that's Will Ferrell. Period. Like he's the president of Mattel. And oh man, he's so good, dude. Even at the age that he's in, he's been in so much countless comedy films, so much countless dramatic dramedy comedy. He's done it all, and he's just so good being funny and slightly vindictive and wholesome all in the same time. And you stand with this character, and he's not necessarily he's an antagonist per se, but he is trying to restore the state of Mattel, I guess, and I like how it plays out. America Ferrer's character, man, she's so good in this film, dude. I mean, she's been in a lot of roles, but this one in particular, I Greta and Bombach knows how to write characters, know how to make them feel, knows how to make them care. And I'm so glad that Ferrera got a lot of screen time, not only just playing a mom or an executive of Mattel, but playing a person, period. Not even a fucking female, just a person with like, hey man, like, who the fuck am I at this age with all these responsibilities? You kind of lose sight of that, and it's kind of scary, but when you're surrounded by people that love you and support you and care about you, whether they say it or not, whether they really don't show it or not, they're there. And obviously those people, like America Ferrera's daughter in the film, like she is an extension of her, because she's the mom, and her daughter like kind of sees it and supports her. And not only by supporting her, you're supporting Barbie. So in a weird way, like, women or men who buy Barbie dolls not only are supporting Barbie, but are supporting the people who look up to like this thing where like, yeah, she's blonde, her body is proportioned in a way where like it's fairly unrealistic to an actual woman's body proportions, and I like that there's a lot of diversity too in Barbie Land. You got all kinds of Barbies, all kinds of Kens. And that's the thing, like, we don't just want to be beach Ken. We don't just want to be stereotypical Barbie. We want to be our own Barbie, as funny as that fucking sounds, or our own Ken. It's like the fact, we don't want to be labeled as just this thing. We want to be universal. We want to be known by it without trying to be known by it. And that's fucking hard. But hey, man, that's just what it is. And now, cinematography is great. Production design's great. Even the scenes where we have Ken singing that power ballad song of, I'm a Ken and all that. So good, man. Watching the movie, and I understand that Ryan Gosling can say, hey, this is one of the best or the best script I've read, and I can kind of see that because it's just so, it can be so relatable and so personal, without having to be. And hey, man, I got to give it to Gerwig on this one. She knows how to make a movie, even if she had to co-write the script. And obviously we got to talk about, so is it contender for Best Picture? Yes, it is. It's contender for Best Director, Production Design, Cinematography, and Best Screenplay or Adapted Screenplay, right? And now I'm sure people are going to ask, well, will it get it? Look, man, I'm going to say this, man. I don't think it'll win Best Picture. If it does win Best Picture, that's great. Well deserved. She earned it. I mean, look at the box office numbers. She earned a lot, But the other contender would be Oppenheimer too. And I was just debating in my head, and I was actually jogging. I was jogging the other day, and I was just like, man, like, these are the top two in my head, man. These are the top two, you know, and I'm just like, who could win it? Who could really go for it, you know? And overall, man, I have to put Oppenheimer as best picture. If I have to put best screenplay, I would put Barbie in that list. Best production design, I would put Barbie in that list. Best cinematography, I would put Oppenheimer in that list. And these are two films that deal with existentialism and like, who am I in this world and what have I become and what's the world gonna happen when I make these decisions, right? You know, but I feel like Oppenheimer universally as a film stands more strong, is more deep than Barbie because, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of dialogue. It's 3 hours or over 3 hours, but you are talking about a man literally thought up the fact that, like, hey man, I actually have the recipe to blow up the world if we wanted to, and now that I have thought about it, it's gonna come into fruition. Someone else is thinking about it. I sort of have to be the first one to do it first, for the sake of for the sake of humanity. You know how crazy that sounds. You know what kind of a big ass responsibility that you acquired already by thinking about it, man. I feel like Oppenheimer just goes deep. Period. It's not as, I mean, Barbie is very third dimensional for sure, but like it really sticks to like emotions and feelings and behavior of humans. And I feel like Oppenheimer just like sets the picture for all humanity. And that's just what I feel. I could be wrong, but that's just what I feel, you know. But everybody go watch Barbie. Aton, if you're listening to this, go watch Barbie. It's not a waste of time. Trust me, you'll have a good time. And you learn something, man. Like this film actually does give you something to think about. One of my favorite scenes in the film is when Barbie's in Venice and she just got arrested or whatever, and she gets out of jail and she sits at the bus stop and she's sitting next to this woman and she looks at this woman. And it's funny because there are no old people in Barbie. The only person that you would see is older than all the Barbies is Weird Barbie, you know, and you can tell, you can just see it, right? Weird Barbie. But you're in the real world and she's like the first old person that she's seen. And not only is the first old person that she's seen, but it's something new that she's seen that she's never seen before. And she's actually like speechless. And the only thing that she could really say is, "You're beautiful." And the old lady, like being in the real world, you know, maybe a typical old lady would say, I know. And that's the thing. Like she owns the beauty that she has. And not a lot of people might think that old woman is beautiful, but she does. And that's all that matters. We're all beautiful. We're all great. It's hard to stay beautiful. But when we work on ourselves, better ourselves, especially for the people around us, to celebrate them, you know, that's beauty. That's the ultimate beauty. Follow me at Morning Shot Films on IG. Subscribe to my YouTube where I put this podcast on sometimes at Morning Shot Films. Rate and review this episode. Let me know what you think about Barbie. Let me know if I'm wrong, right, whatever. I like to know. You know, this film really touched me, you know. It really got me. And I didn't think it would get me like that, but it did. She did a good job. You know, I'm not saying it's too hard on the nose because of the notions of, you know, what world are we really living in? You know, what's real and what's not, and like, can the fake world live in the real world and vice versa? So, yeah, please check it out and check out my last episodes with Rock Sampson on AI, artificial intelligence. Check out previous episodes like Princess Mononoke. People have been asking me, are you going to do Boy in the Heron? I do want to do it. And I would like to see it on IMAX because I'm pretty sure Hayao Miyazaki would prefer us to see it that way. And I'm going to put up the film Lamb. Yes, Lamb. It's an A24 horror film. That movie blew my mind, man. And it's, as it should. You know, and I'm also going to put up Knocked Up featuring E-Zone and XG of the We Don't Smoke the Same podcast that I'm a producer in. This was actually a fun episode that we recorded. Stay tuned for that. And thank you.